Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I don't have music to start me up, but ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, thank you so very much for coming here to the Saturday Gathering. I'm doing all the camera stuff and I'm trying to figure everything out, but I wanted to read something really briefly at first, intro this, because this happens to be the 20-year anniversary issue of cc&d. cc&d magazine is that far, holy cow. Holy cow, right? So I thought because I was doing that in an issue, I would put in the things that give the namesake for Scars Publications. I'm going to read verses 1 and 3, the first and last verses of Scars 2000. An admiral, a general, a high-ranking military official. When you get somewhere in the military, when you grease the right wheels, when you climb the corporate ladder and get to the highs you possibly can, when you make your graceful exit, when you've been adorned with pins and medals and badges of honor, and you've got all the stripes on your sleeve, when you've accomplished it all, and when you retire, well, what then? Because whenever I look down and see the scars on my body, and I should be proud of some, and some would say that I should be proud of surviving those traumas and having the scars to prove it, but all I see are the scars, and all I feel are the aches and pains. Is that what scars do to you? Or is it the memory of surviving the trials, of getting the scars? And is this what you have to show for everything you've done? Are these your pins and military stripes you get after accomplishing your goals? Because what do you do when you're retired? Do people care about your medals of honor? Or do you earn so many that they just weigh you down? Thanks for starting with it. And that was the thing that I actually asked for in CC&D for people who knew me or knew the magazine. I said, hey, if you know anything related to cc&d, Children, Churches, and Daddies is the long name for it. I said, if you have anything that might relate to it. And so I was going to read one or two of these pieces. This one, and I know that my sidekick Bobster will laugh at I.B. Rad. I really, if that's a real name, what are the I and B for? You know, you want to make something Ignatius Bertrand. I mean, like no idea, but I.B. Rad wrote down some that was accepted, and this is one of them, and this is But for Sin, in parentheses, this is not a Christian magazine poem. If Eve and Adam hadn't sinned, they'd as yet be rattling around God's interminable Eden, dumb as fence posts, weary of one another, having no one else to play cards, or party, or swap mates with, or otherwise share their earthly paradise. Yeah, thank you, Ivy Rat. Sorry, there's a bunch of little things in your, yeah, yay, Ivy Rat, woo! The other weird one that I have in here, I'm going to do that one, is Doug Drame has two in here, but I just really thought this was fascinating, although it doesn't really have anything to do with cc&d. But this one, long title, Superman Looking Through a Microscope at Cells Dying. With your naked eyeball, with your X-ray vision, you see our doom flying into the mortal sun, screaming for justice. I'm just sharing little pieces, and I might save some of these for later, like as I have one, because this is why I have a section in here called Chicago Post, because you can have local poets, and I've got Bill Guerra and Bruce Mattson and Janine Ravaslut and Tom Roby and Lucia Black, but I'm going to see if anybody shows up or save it for another day. But in the interim, I am going to call out my guy that actually showed up early, because you're awesome. We're our early birds here. Give it up for Joffrey Stewart. Joffrey, get out of here below.
three, two of them mine. This first one is from a thing called Street Spirit. It's devoted to the homeless in the San Francisco Bay Area. This particular issue is devoted to the Occupy movement. But this is an example of one of the poems. The title is Street Takes Toll Fast by George Wynne. Young woman realizes her dream, becomes a beauty queen, thinks she has it made. After a decade of depression and rage, she dies of old age on the street. And the title here is Contemplating Idolatry at Memorial Day -1 Observed. Looking out my window, I notice how people go to church in cars, a normality almost unthinkable in days of the Memorial Day massacre, and which even I did not think to splice into my lines, to lines and lines of marchers, between lines of whomever, 2 or 3 deep in the shallows of nationalism, and to which my back was turned for contrary purpose. And having parked where their mother is smothered, but coming out vengefully in floods, those driven by affluence park themselves in sanctuaries, desecrated by the flag, so much at cross purposes with the dissident who carried it, up to where he could insist he was no friend of Caesar, the flag emplaced for that first great war for Israel, and defiling nonviolence ever before and since. And, well, this one's written just a day before that one. The title, Without Turning on the Radio for Friday's News. As the gross cover-up of the venality of Israel proceeds in the proceedings for Rios Montt, at least as reported, I listened to the fun shouts of children at recess. That was Hitler moving into the Rhineland for me, and am reminded how Kathleen Chandler-Meyer's mother was good-looking, beached in a bathing suit. As I marked my calendar for the beach shortly before Vince's birthday. Poetry on the beach might lose to gay pride, and gay pride losing to my wish to leaflet against parading that pride into the military, far from being gay enough to suppress sadness for women raped uncontrollably in the military that uncontrollably rapes foreign lands, responded to by a lad who shows up on TV with hands red with the blood of an invader, fallen on a London street like where covertly intelligencing agency laid Adlai Stevenson to rest. With whatever you can guess, he wanted to speak about a noontime in Dallas. Only Catherine Kobayashi seems to tell us that the Islamic convert who cleavered his way into the news was protesting the killings of Muslims by foreign invaders. Others responded to the killing of a soldier as an act of terror, exculpating the slain for his crime of imperialism, innocent in this Zionized language, psychologizing away the social context, it being as though in this semantic climate that Israel never makes war under any circumstances and, as the president says, has a right to defend itself, its land grab, regardless, whatever, hitting anywhere, anytime, like the president himself, doing it for them, with nukes on the table for Iran. No Palestinian babies for breakfast so far. And before preparing sweet potato, I contemplate justice, how it is lost already. Justice being hopeless in a party political, however inspiring, and which is candid spokesman to the Senate aspiring, invites me to visit.
Thank you. I'm not just reading simple mind, I swear. I talk about how great it is that cc&d has a 20-year anniversary issue, and Down with the Dirt originally ran as a supplement in 94 for it, and it started in 2000, but I have no idea when its first issue was. So it's been going on for like 13 years, and this is the most recent issue, and it's got a photo from John Yatko of a spider crawling, and there's a spider web, and it's kind of cool. So I thought I would read 3 things from this, 2 poems in the shortest piece of prose I could possibly find. Some of you might know the name of the first one. Ben McNair is writing this first one, and it is called Shrouded. I'm going to use a prop for this too. Let's see if this works. To keep parrots silent, we cover their cages with blankets so that they think that it's always dark. We aim to do the same with our elderly, only telling them what they need to know and need to do. Not saying that the panic that they sometimes feel is what we think every time we see them. Not knowing what to say to them. Knowing that if they were young, this rudeness, this self-absorption would only be a phase. They would grow out of it one day. So, like those parents with their catchphrases, learnt from in their own ways, we keep them in the dark, grieving what we are losing with every passing day. Thank you very much. This one is a poem by Janet Doggett. And it's not me, Janet. It's my name, Janet Doggett. Doggett is the name of the guy that took Fox Mulder's place on The Express. And he was the Terminator guy. He was the bad guy in Terminator.
It's also the guy who did Honky Tonk.
Well, we have all these references, but yeah. But you know, yay, Janet Doggett. This is a piece called Punctuation. I had a friend once tell me that in the quiet moments, she likes to push her eyelashes into her eyes with a finger, just until it hurts a bit and her eyes teared up. She had a few such moments then, with 3 perfect little girls and a doting husband. All those tiny white socks to wash and nightly routines. She was always smiling. But then one day she mentioned that as a child her father disappeared. One day he was alive for his 3 perfect daughters. The next he was found dead. I don't know the particulars. I do know the devil's in the details. He sits on the tip of a makeshift eyelash curler that points as sharp as a whittled stick into the soft, egg-like white of one perfect woman's eyes that I've seen far too much. Janet Doggett. And the shortest piece of prose I can find, this is called Leaving for Work. You're walking down the street. It's morning. I gotta start it again, because just so I want you to see how short this is. This is Leaving for Work. You're walking down the street. It's morning, and a man tries to mug you with a knife. It's a nice street, you're thinking. There's no litter here. Their garbage day is the same as your sister's in the suburbs. How strange. You pause, don't know how to react to this mugger guy, and another guy walks behind you, another regular Joe. He's not with the mugger guy trying to jump you. He's just walking down the street, probably on his way to work, like you. So then the mugger guy tries to mug him, too. So the other guy pulls a gun, this regular Joe, and then a lady from the house on the street calls 911. And you're thinking to yourself, why does this regular Joe have a gun? And who should you be more scared of now? Is any of this real? It almost seems like TV. Then the police come in 2 minutes. You're safe then. And then the mugger guy is still there. The regular Joe with the gun is keeping him there by holding a gun to him. And so you're talking to one of the officers. And then the other officer in the scene sees the mugger guy stab the regular Joe, the guy with the gun, and then tries to wrestle for the gun. The mugger guy shoots the guy with the gun while in the struggle, and the other cop, shoots and kills the mugger, and you're just standing there on the street, less than 10 feet away from this all. All this stuff had just happened on the street right in front of you. You didn't even get to say a word. Who is dead? Who is alive? What just happened? Are you scared? This is America, you think, and you don't know whether to laugh or cry. And then you hear a car engine start, and you look, and just a few feet away, a car starts, and a person is leaving for work. Poetry and prose in both of these. And now, because I didn't feel like singing, and I don't, he's going to sing, but I love hearing this man whenever he comes up here. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Dan Cleary! Woo! I shouldn't introduce you that way, because I don't know if you can sing.
Well, I'm not sure I'm going to sing.
Yeah, whatever you want to.
Anyway, I have a couple of poems about places. The first is New Orleans, in New Orleans. Like a whisper, out of the night she came, slowly sauntering down a city street, a belle amour, as startling as a flame, with delicate high-heeled shoes upon her feet. As I was sitting laid back, unconcerned, a visitor just then to New Orleans at an outdoor cafe, and had turned my head amid other distracting scenes. It was as if the whole place came alive. I sensed its potent magic right away, much more than I would ever have believed. I saw it in her eloquent sachet as she strode by, something I won't forget. An emanation, almost like a breath. And this is called London. At night, in a deep hollow in the dark, lying in bed alone, I quietly mark pigeons cooing and a solitary bell, as if to say that everything is well. Back in the heart of London once again, after a long year's absence, I think of when I used to live here all those years ago. Before my eyes I see the passing show in coloured fancy like a cavalcade, a raggle-taggle circus on parade, a sundry mix of laughter and of tears, a long procession going down here. In retrospect, I see it all once more, from that first tremulous opening of the door to adulthood, when I first landed here. My shaking joy at once surpassed my fear, treading the verge of some great mystery of self-discovery. Everywhere I could see endless adventure going on and on, from break of dawn until the setting sun, and far into the reaches of the night. Even reversals were a source of light, where things that we could scrap to start again, all with a swift erasure of the pen, with no diminishing of former power. We were alive and young that blessed hour, and paradise lay waiting to be found, just down the road about a mile and round the bend, and there it was, beneath a tree. And there was Eve, too, waiting just for me. So, having come full circle, as they say, into the warm light of another day, with friends nearby, a place I now call home, far and yet further still across the foam, I find myself wrapped up in this warm bed, with all these thoughts going on inside my head, in hallowed Chelsea, here on Beaufort Street, where I once walked and felt myself complete, singing a song as yet without a name, without ambition, without thought of fame, when Juliet lived at number 92, and I first loved and learned how to be true. This is for my grandson, who's a rapper.
Oh yeah.
Speak with a forthright heart, whatever you wish to say. Unerring as Cupid's dart, go swiftly on your way. Say proudly what you feel, and be not turned aside, whatever woe or weal may threaten to be tied. What have you got to lose? Being fervent now and young, whatever words you choose will constitute your song. Will constitute your song if you remember this, strolling the crowds among while following your bliss, to keep a level tone regardless of the cost, a steady monotone that nothing may be lost.
Thank you. That was awesome. And now I'm not gonna read something from the magazines. I'm just gonna call out for a man who has done so many books that are the coolest paper ever. Because if you can use your grocery bags, it's the coolest texture ever. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, Patrick, get on up here with us! Patrick Early!
So I have just about enough for my ninth book, The Best and Worst of Both Worlds. And these will be in there. Within the pages, I unfold before you, yet you refuse to turn the pages. My mystery lies within. It is nothing, nothing but a life, another cell like all others, like no other, resting in mud, waiting so patiently for discovery, and you are so patient. Origami. Origami. A gentle kiss placed so delicately on your breast. Time lags, then races as your hand parts hair. Ah, fresh air filling lungs as diaphragm distends stomach. We breathe each other in and in again. Origami art, folding limbs into beauty. Sanctuary. They called me God, made offerings and worshipped me. I laughed in their faces, said they were naive. They said, surely you must be a god to laugh at us in such a way. They called me sage. Buddha returned and followed me to hear me speak, but all I said was gibberish. This is prophetic, they cried. The true meaning of life rests in your words. They called me pious and righteous, bowed before me on rugs, saying, truly Allah guides me, while I drank and smoked, entertaining their youth, wiping my feet on their rugs as if welcome mats. He comes to bless my sajada, they proclaimed, while whipping themselves. They called me omnipotent. I simply answered their questions with whatever came to my head. Truth or relevance played no part in my response, but that I responded was enough to be a genius in their eyes, so hungry for food. As I awoke, my head in the pool of blood, they proclaimed, he has risen from the dead. Surely you are divine. I said, dead? No. Passed out drunk? Yes. He has taken a spirit quest. We must follow, they said. Do as you like. Just remember the ground is hard, I said. The day came when they went away, saying, he is a false god, tricking us into subservience. He laughed in our faces, spoke in gibberish, smoked and drank and bedded our women, filled our heads with lies. Then off they went to follow another. At last, true sanctuary, I said. Safe. If it were coming, would you know it? Walking in the woods, leaves crunch under footfalls. The smell. Crisp air fills lungs. Her hair, the scent of autumn. She is in your arms, so small. Tears abate. Your shoulder now damp. Simple, the events of life. Difficult, the events of life. You are her everything. She is in your arms now, safe. Her hair smells of freedom. This is freedom, you think, as she holds you close. Tears abate, your shoulder dirty with snot. Leaves, the scent of leaves in her hair. I love you. I love you too, Daddy.
You know, whenever I hear that one about you being God, I love it. I think it's an awesome one. I keep hearing it, I'm like, I don't know how that would look as an editor. I'm like, I don't know how that would look on a printed page, but I love hearing it performed. I think it's great. No, I mean, no, there's a total difference because sometimes somebody can do something that's how they perform something that you get the whole idea from it versus reading something like on a page. And I love hearing it. So that's all I have to say. I don't know if the third-party person would get the same, deal, get the whole impression from it that you get from that performance. And it's the performance of reading it and hearing you say it that makes it double plus awesome, in my opinion. Sorry. So I'm going to hold this bag right here because I was trying to be a show-off and say that we've got to give a ton of money for our feature. How much do I have?
That's right.
There's a few more. Because Rob and Fine are phenomenal feature this evening. Give it up, Rob and Fine! I know more people will be coming in here, but I'm like, I'm going to walk around like a little hawk and say, money, Google money in now. And that doesn't mean you're off the hook yet. Mr. Man is coming up next. Please get up for Jerry. Jerry Brandon, come up here.
I will make you down later for money for our future.
Okay. Okay, I need to adjust this. I think I'm the shortest guy here.
I was going to say, tilt it which way, I don't know.
I've heard a few religious references, and I think it's appropriate because it looks like a church. Nobody's sitting in the first two rows. Well, one guy in the second row, nobody in the first row. Anyway, news poem, early 80s. Picking up a fallen leaf, still moist, not yet brown. Bring it inside with the paper that I digest with my lunch between job interviews. I stop at a page on peace treaties, flip a few pages, find out what pieces, given, taken, bought, sold. Too many gates for fiascos of states, prose hymns to the sacred center, sports scores, game summaries, opportunities of a lifetime for someone with the right stuff. Wonder if the leaves still on the tree outside will live to fall from a natural wind. Flipping more pages to find out what's chic. What part of the world is in fashion this week? I don't just write political stuff. I write about love just like most people do. This is called Lovers and Opponents, and it is partially from an experience in high school. You asked me what I think I'll be doing, where I'll be 10 years from now. I say, I don't know. You say, I'd like to go to the Empire Room after the prom next year. I'm thinking, what the hell gives you the idea I want to go to the goddamn prom? But I just keep chewing on a sandwich. You say, Bernard's your competition, if that matters. I say no in my poker voice. You say, you haven't said much all evening. You're angry, right? I say no with a slow shake of my head. Keep staring straight ahead like a British bass player. At the bus stop, I watch the wind roll a beer can down the sidewalk and a metal store sign swing like a gymnast. I hear a voice from the cracks of the concrete say, "Won't mix, won't mix."
That's awesome. Well, thanks.
It's called Born in Chicago, 1955. Post-war, pre-war, Cold War baby. Post-Arbanes, Mousade. Pre-Bay of Pigs, Vietnam. You slide, crawl on the rug, grab a stuffed rabbit, a game on the radio. A three-letter man in college, twice All-American. He flies out to center. Purity plums on your chin. You bang on your tray. Your brother, your sister, out the door to a movie, to a birthday party. Post-war, pre-war, Cold War baby. Voice on the radio cursing un-Americans. Daily news on the kitchen table. Your father cursing another Yankee pennant. Takes a tiny spoon, scrapes plums off your chin. Tells you, good stuff. Your cousin stops by, 4 years from a draft notice. You hold up your stuffed rabbit, try to say, Ricky. Your cousin rubs your head, Ricky the rabbit.
This is one of those long ass ones. This is page 2.
Oh,
Page 2.
Door opens, closes, across the hall. Dan coming home from flipping burgers, dipping fries at John's that come out crisp, golden brown. Golden brown. Post-war, pre-war, Cold War baby. Post-bop, pre-fusion. A dog outside howling. You stir in your crib. Is that dog answering a slow, intense horn from a Clark Street lounge? The one with Bird Lives, magic markered in the washroom door. Bird Lives, painted on the garage door, across the alley from your bedroom window. Muddy Waters, Bo Diddley, Howlin' Wolf. Rock the north side, south side, west side, nighttime. Post-war, pre-war, Cold War baby. You're building half your block, 10, 12 years from a bulldozer. Pre-regentrification baby. James Dean accelerates, becomes a blur, crashes with turnip seed, stabbed by the steering wheel. You pull on your crib bars, start to rise, slip down. Post-war, pre-war, Cold War baby.
Thank you, Jerry. Thank you very much. I said I wasn't going to be read, but this isn't stuff of mine. I always bring this around. I've got this. People are like, I used to do calendars where you'd have a poem that would appear in a month on a wall calendar that you'd put up. But then I said, you know, they've got these spiral bound things, and I can make weekly planners, and I could pick things that were best from the magazine issues and stuff. And I thought I would read something from that just because, well, I can. And in fact, there is later in this year, somewhere, I've got a thing from Robert Fine. A point click is in that set. It's she fine, whether you take it from here or from there. It'd be awesome if you'd read that in your feature, which is so awesome. But this is the one for this week, and this is a poem by, oh God, I'm not going to say this properly, but I'm going to try. This is Marcin Maszkowski. Maszkowski. Marcin, this is your poem. This is page 62, and this is this week So it's all through Saturday. This is a piece called To Paint. Today is the day where I've got to paint death. I'm not an artist. I'll do it. It's my irresistible desire's breath. The canvas is spread, a large area, appropriately primed and tested. I've got a vision, every inch covered. Nothing will be wasted. It's time to choose the tools. They'll help create a work of art's master. It needs to be appropriately protected when finished to avoid any accidental burning disaster. All's ready, sealed, and delivered. The idea to move the lower limbs is ripening. I'm losing balance, hearing the noise of the rope tightening. To paint. It totally changes there at the end, doesn't it? But so yes, if you have something in the magazines, it could be in a date book, and I get to read these crazy things for everybody. But now I'm gonna get off my ultra lovely, sexy sidekick. Please get off the monster himself, Mr. Bob Raska.
Thank you. Here's 3 of my newest.
Strong like bull.
There we go. Well,
Well, now I gotta put it back.
okay.
First one is called Berry Bar. That's
Berry. The fruit of his labor was not ripe by a sinner. It flourished in salt baths, eclipsed its creator. He was born in apartments and raisin split levels. He had orange crush spritzers for breath-minting lung power. We met in biology, plucked apples in the commissary. It almost went peachy, but he moved, was a goner. I spurned watermelons, I searched for bananas. The jungles were noisy, they tried to maraud me. I just want to find Barry, I screamed into no place. He's got to be someplace. The monkeys glared sideways, taunted me with plantain stalks. Yet way in the distance, a long endless counter, behind it stood someone. He looked like my brother. I clasped that blue vision of sand, and water, of Barry bartender who'll serve me forever. This is called Bean Envy. For the glory of gas, do I have to be round, clumpy, and fat? Just look at that scarlet runner over there, so slender and athletic. How she revels and stretches in her string bean grace. And mira ayi to that royalty, posing proudly in all its purple, pearly possession, practically predicting he'll soon be in holding position for some glutton-head silver spoon. Now they both stare at me, wallowing here in my immobility. Was that a gurgle of derision coming from Lady Scarlet? How dare she mock me? Oh, if I could only waddle my weary way over there, I'd show off my expanse. I'd give them a taste of my chewy, bulky texture. Then they'd surely get the message this garden is tended for variety, and wax vegetables can wax poetic, at least as much as these old beans. And this last one, appropriately enough, is called So What? In a dark little alcove bar on the south side of Nashville, I never would have guessed that I would find some little thing. Because I was convinced I was just killing some time. I thought I was in a weight loop. I thought I was in a holding pattern. The bar just a way station. The way back to a budget inn or a Motel 6. The beer spilling, the nervous laughter, the Johnny and Dolly lookalikes. Forming carousel patterns around and through me. Until I begin to get the slightest bit dizzy and need to find a map of navigation homeward. But I can go now, happier in the knowing of a legend, an inscription that happens to catch my eye, carved on a nearby wooden table where no body is occupying the seating space. Mark Smith was here. Thank you.
Was the Miles Davis tune So What? You thought you were inspired by me? No, I didn't think so.
I was gonna say, I'm gonna look at my schedule, and I was thinking, because we're running like every week in June, and we normally would be on July 30, and we had it 3rd. And we had to take that off, and that was originally Dan Clearview's spot, which he was his open micer earlier, so he's actually got June 26th. And I'll tell you all about the open micers, but I do have to say on July 17th, actually the first July spot that we have right now is the Bob Rashkoff feature. Yeah, I'll give it up to the boxer. Sorry. I'll tell you about the features after our feature is over. So, ladies and gentlemen, now I can't even remember who is on my list. Oh my God, because it's the Bob and Bob. I've got to keep the Bobs together because that's how they seem to work. So please,
right.
Oh my God, ladies, don't get off for Bob
Lord. First one of these is called Musings. The muse advances as a low cloud, as a specter hovering over grounds of a night cemetery, as volcanic gas yellowing down a mountain slope, as the depthless light of the bomb. The muse moves across time, through time and with time. The muse moves stealthily across verdant fields, ice flows and flowing streams. The artist's indelible brush. And this is has anyone seen my keys? The image bank has foreclosed. Ink blots blot out the landscape. The corpse of Severland runs amok. Non-pareil non-senescence prevails. The grass is green with envy. The sun is yellow with fright. The moon is silvered with wisdom. A mountain on Mars claims bragging rights. I thought I left them on the bookcase. And this is legalized marijuana rally at Daly Plaza. A young man struts around under a hat shaped like a flower pot. An old bearded dude proudly carries the leaf-emblazoned marijuana flag. A middle-aged man leans on the Picasso, puffs on a joint and passes it along. A woman of indeterminate age with thin, hard legs shoots photographs. A soapbox speaker rallies the faithful with calls for legislative action. The speaker leads a mini parade of sign-toters down Dearborn Street. A band plays wild jazz rock fusion while onlookers shake and dance. The band on break, a tall young blonde, dances solo without shoes. Her left big toe pokes through a hole in her dark sock. Speaking of her life as transformed by Allah, she collapses in tears. On the cement bench by the fountain, two elderly women huddle and talk. On another bench, a weary transient leans against a frayed, bulging backpack. Between stone skyscrapers, fleecy cirrus clouds slowly shift against a pale blue sky. Distorted images of neighboring buildings shimmer in a glass-fronted skyscraper. I recall standing in silent protest on a street in Iowa City during the 60s. I recall standing atop the Empire State Building and spotting ant people below during the 50s. Can't you see? Time and space splinter, no matter how hard we try to compress them. Birds chirp in the middle of the fiercest battles.
Thank you. And you know, I was just talking about people's features that were coming up, and I should actually say, well, Bob Monis is going to be here. He's actually going to be featuring on August 28th. Aw, yeah, give it up. And then our next open mic, Michael Hope, is actually going to be featuring on December 4th. And then the guy after him said, yeah, she's going to be featuring here on August 28th. And you know, I can just tell you more and more about features, but I can always always tell you, you can always go to www.chaoticarts.org/thecafe. And there's a full schedule of all upcoming features. And since I do record these open mics and features, so if anybody says, dear God, don't tape me, then I can pull you from it. Otherwise, you would be set for a potential future feature, and all of our features will also have podcasts as well. So I had to get my little PSA out about how I'm recording you. And you all love it anyway, so I figure I should say it every time anyway. So, as I said, the person that's going to be open mic next, I think the first time I ever actually announced him, I actually said Michael Hoag. I screwed up his name, and I was an idiot when I did that. But then again, I had said when we were hanging out at the cafe at the last place that this was at, I'm like, let's go to a beer out at Lashes. And we're leaving, he's like, I left my keys inside the place, and I happen to have Bonky's number, and he's like, well, I'll be there in a half hour. And I said, okay, well, do you want to start our beer? So we went to Lashes and had half a beer and came back, got the keys. It was hysterical. But anyway, sorry, I'm thinking all the goofy times. But that's what you've got, such the economically eco-friendly Prius. The Pius, is that what it but when the gas prices are so incredibly high right now in Chicago, because it's actually going up where everywhere else is going down, what is up with that? Other than, I think they're out to get Obama, and so they're just making the prices really suck where he was at. Is me, who knows? But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Michael Hope! Michael! Woo!
Long time no hear. Yeah, that was weird, very weird. I drive a Pius. You know, I remember when I forgot those keys in Baki's place.
Yeah.
That actually was scary. I was thinking I could sleep on the sidewalk.
Yeah, you were like, I'll sleep on the ground underneath my car. And I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. That's not going to happen.
The problem with that, I still have the same problem in the morning. I'm planning tomorrow. I'm counting my steps. I've soaked my arms. I know how high a fly goes, and I have my roll of parchment paper. I've got my 12 wax boxes. 5 have water for dry food. 4 are long for long brushes. 2 are short for short brushes, and 1 is ready for extra knobs. I've picked my grocery cart, and I've got my paper bags. Round ones for cans, rectangular ones for cereal boxes, spherical for spherical fruit, tall for tall fruit. I've got my things counted, my noodles, my drawer pulls, my doorknob twists, the sponge circles I'll make on the counter, the broom lines I'll make on the porch. I have my hand maps to track my hands, and here are my foot maps for my feet bearings. I won't go northwest or accidentally cook corn or wash the ground worms or touch table wood too many times. I've mapped and I'm mapped, and the maps are mapped, and here I know the windows aren't ballooning from the wind, and fungus isn't in my lungs. I have enough corn and orange and coupons and stops, and from my maps I know I have the hush here. If you don't see fish, add more fish. Fish like fish and will stay below and sometimes surface, mostly all together, but sometimes apart, and only for yummy fish food. If you want rocks, drop them in a hole. Rocks like rocks and only come up slowly, sometimes in a lump, but mostly by themselves and only when dirt allows. If you don't like your big eyes, close them. Close things like close things and like to close together because closing is soothing and as still as a paper napkin. If you don't have things with one and things with two, combine them. Things like things and are apart when not together, and when not together, get together, and when apart, break one into two, and when far away, tumble and roll on their own axis, when turning is quiet and whispering multiplies. Okay.
Talked about fish, and if you want fish, have multiple fish, and it just made me think of how we used to have like a 65-gallon aquarium, and we'd have bluegills in it, and I called them like Sid and Nancy, and they would have, you know, or Dick and Laura, because they were in a big old petri dish instead of Petri. So, But then, at one point, I had a clown knife and it ate fish, so I started, I'll just have a little fish in it. So after we got rid of the big fish, and I had lots and lots of fish, but John was like, I don't want to clean this anymore. And I'm like, well, screw it. I've got it now filled with globes, and I had to take all of my little fish and put them into like a 10-gallon. And they were like really crammed together, all these fishes. But fish like to be together, I would like to think. So that's my stupid thought on fish. I'm going to shut up, but I have my fishies. And then I'm going to shut up and say I'm going to troll around for our last open micer before I do a poem dedicated to Robin Fine, our feature this evening. So if anybody hasn't put anything in for this, I'm going to be trolling around like a big old idiot. But please, ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Sid. Yes!
Boy, I can't wait to see that feature tonight. So, I'd like to do this. This first number is it's an old traditional Danish song, and it's by a guy by the name of Don Sound, and it's called "Jump on the Camel." Don Sound is coming to the town, coming on his camel tonight. Don Sound is coming, riding on his camel, riding on his camel tonight. Don Sound is coming, riding on his camel, bringing his children tonight. Don Sound is coming, riding on his camel, riding with his children tonight. Don Sound is a-comin', riding with his camel, riding with his children tonight. Don Sound is a-bringing lots of beer, riding to the town tonight. Thank you. This next one I'd like to, I saw this picture online on Facebook, and so this...
I didn't do it!
No, well, it wasn't exactly you. It was a gentleman sitting at the bar, so he kind of inspired this one. So this is a cover piece by my friend Sharky Asbury, and it's called Man Titties. I've got man titties on my chest, and $1 million G.G. Allen diamond-studded training bra just to hold them up. I've got man titties on my chest. Some asshole kid grabbed them all night at the high school dance. I've got man titties on my chest. The snot noses would grab them all night in the locker rooms. I got the man titties on my chest. And those man titties are damned hairy. I've got man titties on my chest. And totally sensitive nipples to match. I've got the man titties on my chest. I wonder what they'll look like when I'm 80. Thank you.
Thank you. I feel bad because there was a guy down at the bar. Sorry.
Residents!
Fred.
Yay, residents, sure.
Fred, and I can't spell is get I don't know.
Residents.
Residence? It starts with an S, it looks like. Well, it was a novel piece.
It's a band.
And it was an interesting political piece. And, you know, if anybody wants to come up and actually read stuff, you're more than welcome to. But I was going to actually close off this open mic with a request from our feature rep and fine. For those of you who don't know this about me, my latest venture for writing has been to write an poem for every element in the periodic table. And I did one for acetine, which is number 85. And I decided that I was going to incorporate another older poem of mine in some of it. And then I decided to mush them all together. And I did acetine in a fantastic car crash. And she really liked this one. So this is acetine. You're going to learn something about periodic table stuff at the same time. This is acetine in a fantastic car crash. And our life is one big road trip now. And we set the cruise control and make our way down the expressway. And most of the time we're just moving in a straight line and the scenery blurs. There's nothing to see. But I know what's inside of you and I know what you're made of. I know there's no such thing as a calm with you. You are a fantastic car crash. You stop traffic in both directions. In your twisted way, you come from the decay of others. And what do you leave in your wake? More radioactive destruction as all around you slows down the stare. And the gapers gawk. And the decay grows. Everything shatters with you. You know, it's a spectacular explosion until your instability corrodes you down to the basics in the world. And yeah, what was left of you after you were gone is much more stable than what you actually were. But still, I duck and cover as metal flies through the air. Every time you leave the scene of the accident, I am left picking up the shards of glass from the windows. You know, the glass breaks into such tiny little pieces. They look like ice. It takes so long to pick up the pieces, and even though I'm careful, I'm still picking up the pieces after dealing with only fractional amounts of you. I've only been able to infer what you're like by knowing your brethren, while I'm stuck here, picking up the pieces, and I'm still on my knees. The glass cuts into my hands because it was only after so much of your destruction that you left blood dripping down to the street. Think of this as your contribution, this radioactive short-term flash of decay. Think of this as your contribution to this fantastic car crash that is you, that is me, that is us. I've tried to learn, I've tried to study these microscopic parts of you to make sense of you, but whether or not you ever leave enough, despite your destruction, despite the decay of yours, I have to keep reminding myself that when it comes to you, this is what you do. This happens all the time. So I pull the glass from my hands and wave my hand to the line of traffic. Go ahead. Keep driving. This happens all the time. There's nothing to see here. Thank you very much for you.